Hello, YouTubes. Thank you for joining me. I'm Nicholas W. Fuller. I'm a writer, I'm a gamer, and even though I haven't read many of his books, I'm a big fan of Brando Sando. But today, I come to you with another video in my series on the indie takeover. Dun dun dun. Just kidding. It's actually a great thing if you're a fan of media and content and things because it means there's a more direct line between you and the creator, which is a good thing. So here's the headline: Brandon Sanderson was calling out Audible in a big way. He's basically refused to put some of his latest books on Audible, and for good reason. So let me kind of step back just a little bit. I've been talking about, kind of this indie takeover, right? I talked about how Will White is going straight to the distributor to get his books into bookstores, and he's just bypassing the traditional publisher. I talked about how Brandon Sanderson, he's not only the author, not only self-publishing some of his new books, he's also the distributor himself. And that's true for ebooks and special edition print books for these new books. However, audiobooks are a bit of a different beast. And Brandon Sanderson has gone a bit of a different path. So with the Kickstarter that I mentioned, Brandon Sanderson did this huge Kickstarter to sell 4 new books that he wrote in secret in COVID lockdown because the man just he joked in his videos that Brandon plus time equals stories, and apparently that's true. And I wish I had that magic, but I don't. But anyway, so he did the Kickstarter, and with that you could buy audiobook editions of his books. So, and again, with ebooks, he would just basically send it to people directly himself. Doesn't need Amazon, whatever. For the audiobooks, that's not always so easy, right? And the big thing is that the audiobook files are way bigger than an ebook. So you can't just send that as an email attachment, and it's not a small file that you can host somewhere and have it downloaded a lot. It's a big file. And you also need a compatible media player. So depending on the file format that you send, it might not work on everyone's device right away. It's a bit of an issue, right? And Audible kind of solved that by having over air download that would occur over time, but you could start the download and start listening almost right away, and it had the embedded media player right in the Audible app. But if you're trying to go without Audible, it's hard. Basically everyone uses Audible because they're the kings and they figure this all out. Even if you're going through a traditional publisher or some different companies, they basically just go through Audible. By and large, everyone goes through Audible. But if you're an indie author and you go through Audible, you're getting not so real great rates. You're not getting a lot of return on, people buying your stuff. So if you're an indie, Audible will pay you 40% on the price of your book on Audible. You get less than half the actual price. Now, that's true. That can be true for retail. You might get around 50%, but retail bookstores, they have a storefront and sales staff and warehousing to deal with. Audible doesn't have any of that. And by comparison, Brandon has, as he was making kind of this announcement that he was going to do this, he points out that most online marketplaces will give the creator 70%. That's true with Amazon for ebooks. So kudos to them there. I mean, with ebooks, they're way dominant. 70%. That's true with Steam which is for video games. If you're on my channel, you're probably familiar a little bit with video games, but still for Steam, you can get 70%. Even Apple, if you're downloading apps on the Apple App Store, the app creators are getting 70%. But for Audible, again, it's only 40%. Now, that's a best case scenario as an indie author. That means you have to be exclusive to Audible. If you're trying to use any other means to sell your audiobook also, then you're non-exclusive, and they will only give you 25% of the sale price on your audiobook. Which again is kind of just crazy for a digital product, right? So Brandon Sanderson was like, I'm not going to play that game. I'm going to go find somebody else. Which, I mean, kudos to him. That's awesome that he's doing it. He's like, this isn't really a battle he needs to go fight. He could probably, I'm sure that through his publisher, he could get better than the 40%, but he wants to go fight this battle kind of for everyone else and make sure that there's other players in town than just Audible. So that's fantastic. So he sought out new partnerships that would pay at least 70%. So it seems he found them in Speechify and Spotify. Now, he said that he can't make the specifics of his deal with Spotify public because of a non-disclosure agreement that he signed, but I have to figure it's got to be at least 70% because that's kind of the number that he was pointing at, and like that's what he was shooting for, right? Maybe he earned a little bit more even. But Spotify, you've probably heard of. I mean, it's that huge music streaming, but they're also apparently getting into audiobooks, so they wanted a piece of this pie, right? Speechify, you've been forgiven if you've never heard of, because they are not in audiobooks at all. At least they weren't, but they are getting into it now, and Brandon Sanderson is leading the way. Speechify is an app that turns text into speech, and they were excited to work with Brandon Sanderson. So they've making a deal now where 70% is going to be available for authors that go with Speechify, and it doesn't seem like it even has to be exclusive. So that's fantastic. And of course, Speechify is going to have like the embedded media player. I'm sure they're going to handle distribution, download of the books. So it's huge, man. Like, I mean, it's great for us as fans, as consumers, as book lovers, because we should want there to be more than one player in the space, in all the spaces, whether it's audiobook, whether it's ebook, whether it's retail. Competition is good for the industry. It's good for the consumer. And of course, again, like, I mean, more of the money going to the creator, I think, is fantastic, particularly when it's just a digital product and the costs involved for the distributor is not significant. I mean, it does cost some amount of money to host a large audio book files, but like not 60% of the list price, yeah. Anyway, I'd love to hear what you think about all this. Leave a comment below. Let me know what your thoughts are. If you had heard of Speechify before, if you're going to check out Speechify, if you're going to check out Spotify for audiobooks, what do you think? If you like this video, please like and subscribe. And also, I encourage you to check out, the other videos in the series, the one about Will White, the one about Brandon Sanderson's ebook, and but also another video I created where I was talking about how you can support your favorite author. Lots of things that any reader can do to support their favorite author. So yeah, thank you for watching. Appreciate you being here with me. Hope you watch another one. And if no one's told you yet today, you're incredible.